Sunday's first video for you is first news story is from Somaliland, self-declared country where demonstrations are expected today. Before that, government has deployed police units to the streets of Hargeisa, Somaliland's capital. Second news story is about a protest held in Washington DC by Ethiopian diaspora community, especially Amhara diaspora community. Naga addressed the participants for more than a week. Mobilization was underway for this demonstration. How big was this protest? Which organizations participated in the protest? A third news story is about Jawar. Jawar was in Germany, Nuremberg yesterday. There he spoke. What did he say? What was the reaction of participants there? Fourthly, Demeke Mekonen visited Afar. He arrived in Afar yesterday and there he inspected Sardo checkpost as well. And he said that surveillance must be tightened. Unauthorized materials, equipment could be smuggled into Tigray through Afar, through these checkpoints. Last news story is about a claim made by an Eritrean diaspora group. The group claims that several hundred Eritrean soldiers have defected. And they are Afars, basically. Afars are part of Eritrean military as well. We'll have a detailed look at this claim. Who is making this claim? Where are these soldiers now? Firstly, first news story is from Somaliland, a self-declared country in the Horn of Africa. On the 13th of November, presidential election in Somaliland is due to be held. Before that, we are seeing disagreements between Somaliland's ruling party, Kulmiye, and opposition parties, Wadani, UCID, and opposition parties, Wadani, and others say that President Musibay Abdi is obstructing electoral process and he is not sincere in holding next presidential election in November. And we know that a few days ago the opposition parties, they submitted a letter of protest to Ministry of Interior of Somaliland. They wanted permission to organize rallies against Musibay Abdi's government, that he is obstructing electoral process. No permission was granted. Instead, Interior Ministry of Somaliland passed orders that security be tightened, that no demonstration is allowed. But then came announcement that demonstration will be held on Sunday. And last night, Abdi Rahman, head of Wadani party, presidential candidate, visited some places in Hargeisa. He met with public there. He's mobilizing people for Sunday's protest. So today, Sunday, and demonstrations are expected in Hargeisa, but not allowed. Government says, what will happen? Government is deploying police. You can see some picture on your screen. The picture is from Hargeisa, Somaliland's capital, where police contingents have been seen patrolling the streets of Hargeisa. So, are these police units deployed to stop any protests, or are they deployed to secure the protests? That remains to be seen. But in coming hours, we could see demonstrations by opposition parties, Wadani and UCID in Hargeisa, especially Somaliland's capital. What remains to be seen is what will be the reaction of the ruling party, of the government of Musibay Abdi. Will demonstrations be allowed or not? Second news story is about a protest held in Washington DC. For more than a week, preparations were underway, mobilization was underway for a massive demonstration in Washington DC against the ongoing military operation in Amhara region. Fano commanders are being arrested, Fano fighters are being arrested, journalists, community activists are being arrested in the Amhara region of Ethiopia, and demonstration was mainly being planned by Amhara diaspora community of Ethiopian. And three main parties were behind the preparation. Firstly, Balderas Party of Skandanaga, secondly, DC Task Force, thirdly, Amhara organization. What happened? Was there any protest? How big was the protest? You can see some picture on your screen. You can see Skandanaga delivering a speech. Participants of the demonstration can also be seen in Washington, D.C. How many people were there? I think around 100, 200. Around 100, I think, would be the strength of this rally. So despite a week-long preparation, despite a week-long social media campaign, distribution of flyers, etc., you see that only 100 participants turned up for this rally in support of Fano. We saw pictures of Demeke Mekonen, we saw slogans against Amhara genocide in Oromia region, and it was said that Amharas were the victims of genocide in Ethiopia. We saw two protests in the past 3 days. The first one was in Tel Aviv, Israel, in support of Fano. Then we saw in Berlin, Germany. Now in Washington, D.C. All three demonstrations were small demonstrations. In Tel Aviv, just a few dozen people were there. In Germany as well, just a few dozen. And here, around 100 were there. So it means that Amhara diaspora community is not united when it comes to starting a campaign against Ethiopian PMB. These demonstrations are basically PMB's government, but we're seeing that not a large number of Ethiopians is participating in these demonstrations abroad. Third story is about Jawar, who is on his Europe, North America tour. He was in Germany yesterday. There he delivered a speech at Town Hall of Nuremberg, Germany. It was an impressive show. Hundreds were there. It was a jam-packed town hall there in Nuremberg. And Jawar was accompanied by Yahya Bashir as well, other Oromo activists. And he spoke for peace. Topic was also from civil war to just peace. And he spoke for peace. Since his last interview, which we saw around 10 days ago on Ubuntu, we are seeing that in that interview as well and in yesterday's appearance as well, he just called for peace. He said there was no likelihood of the success of any armed movement. And when he said that armed resistance was not a solution, it wasn't a solution, it was not well received by some participants who booed, who showed their displeasure when Jawar opposed armed resistance. It means that there were some supporters of OLA as well in the crowd attending the program. But overall, it was an impressive show. People want to listen to Jawar. He is turning into a national politician, not an Oromo politician. Though most of the people who attended were Oromos, and they gifted 1,000 gram gold to Jawar as well. You can see Jawar receiving the gift of I think 1,000 gram or 800 gram gold by Oromo diaspora community living in Germany, Nuremberg. Jawar will visit other places as well in Europe and America in coming days. He is on daily basis sharing updates about these tours of Europe and North America. So no likelihood of Jawar standing with OLA. He is now a mediator, you can say. He wants to mediate between government and OLA, government and factions. But he'll have to be careful that he should not be seen as government's mediator. If there are some voices against Jawar's new political strategy, people say that he has struck an alliance with PM Abiy's government. He's working on behalf of PM Abiy's government. So he will need to maintain this fine balance that while he's calling for peace, he should not be seen as a supporter of PM Abiy's government. Fourth news story is about Demeke Mekonen, Deputy Prime Minister and Foreign Minister of Ethiopia, who certainly visited Afar yesterday. What did he do there? Firstly, he checked Sardo checkpost. Sardo checkpost is in Afar through which aid to Tigray passes. Here, inspections are carried out, checking is done to ensure that no unauthorized materials, unauthorized equipment is being sent to Tigray through this checkpost. And he urged the officials deployed there that they must ensure that no unauthorized material and equipment passes through the checkpost towards Tigray. And there some officials complained that there were some aid agencies which were involved in transporting unauthorized material through the checkpost to Tigray. And he said that he would take up the issue with aid organizations. So he was there to tighten, to inspect the security arrangements. And secondly, he held meetings with Afar regional government leaders as well. In his talks with Afar regional government elders, he was briefed by Afar government officials who said that more than 1 million in Afar had been displaced due to TPLF's attack on Afar. He also agreed with what was said, and he said that TPLF was behind destruction, displacements in Afar region, and he urged aid agencies to focus on Afar as well. Now, Demeke is from Amhara region. Why doesn't he try to convince Amhara regional government to allow aid pass through Amhara to Tigray, which would be a shorter route, I think. He is there to inspect security arrangements at Sardo checkpost, but he is not doing anything to ensure supplies to Tigray through Amhara region. And now he is unchallenged, you can say, in Amhara region. His rival Gado on the Gacho has been sidelined, removed from the post of National Security Advisor. So now he can call the shots in Amhara region. He should try to start delivery of aid to Tigray through Amhara as well, but his focus is on Afar these days. Lastly, a news story from Eritrea. Several viewers contacted me. They said, Sajid, what are your views about some claims made by an Afar advocacy group based abroad, diaspora group basically. Name of the group is Eritrean Afar National Congress, EANC. This group has been struggling for the establishment of an Afar country separate from Eritrea. It's obviously based abroad, not allowed to work in Eritrea. The group claims through a statement, that 500 Afar soldiers who were part of Eritrean military, they have defected. We know that Afars live in Eritrea, they live in Ethiopia as well. And there are some units, brigades in Eritrean Defense Force with large number of Afar soldiers. The group claims that these 500 Eritrean soldiers are from 67th Infantry Division of Eritrean Defense Force. They defected. Why? Because they are against new deployments of Afar militias, Afar forces against Ethiopia. So the group seems to be implying that Eritrean Defense Force is planning new deployments against Ethiopia, against Tigray. And these soldiers do not want to fight in a new phase of conflict against Tigray. Where are they? EANC says that these 500 EDF soldiers are now in a state of Eritrea, which is close to Ethiopia. So they haven't entered Afar region of Ethiopia. They are still in Eritrea. And negotiations are underway. A general who is Afar, who is part of Eritrean Defense Force. He is holding talks with some elders to convince these soldiers to change their mind. And name of the general, what is being shared is that his name is Mohammed Keri Kore, EDF general, but of Afar descent. Now, we are not in a position to confirm or reject this claim. We know that Eritrean government has not issued any statement so far, and it won't. Eritrean government will not issue any statement, I think. So, what we can say is that it can only be verified if we know the other side of the story as well. Some pictures, some videos, some locals of the area, which we have not been able to find so far. So maybe in coming videos, if we have some credible information, we'll update you. But we have shared this claim of Afar, Eritrean Afar National Congress Group, which is obviously against Eritrean government. It has been issuing statements. It wants a separate Afar country, separate from Eritrea. Thank you for watching.